Today on the Sporting Edge with Greg H, we're talking about women in sport. Differentiation, it's not the equation. Let's go. Good to be with you again on the second episode of Sporting Edge with Greg H. Thanks very much to everybody who interacted on the first episode where we covered off on what I believe the impact will be on sport post-COVID-19. Whenever post-COVID-19 comes about, anything's possible. Right now, though, for episode 2 of season 1, I want to focus on the topic of women in sport. Hot topic, hot potato, and a topic that has not really changed much in the last few years, and probably I'd say a good 5 to 10 years that this topic is probably up for debate. Again, some hard-hitting, straight-hitting opinions. My opinions only, not endorsed by anybody that I'm associated with. I've got some pretty strong opinions about this, and I flat out would say to you that I don't believe we succeeded in creating sustainable pathways and channels for women in sport. I'm talking about administration, coaching, and playing. I think there is so much more to do. And I think that the primary stumbling block in creating a sustainable channel for women in sport is politics, driven by men, driven by people like me. I don't drive it, but certainly I am a man, and I think that we have a lot to account for in the fact that women haven't progressed as adequately as they should have. So differentiation is not the equation. That's really what I'm saying. And there's too many instances where women's sport has been differentiated as a means of creating more turnover, more money in the game, and growing numbers of participation, which generally just drive, the numbers up. The biggest failing, as I said to you earlier, in obtaining equity and equality is fundamentally, in my opinion, politics. Sorry, a bit of a jump around here with the camera. Is politics, and it's the issue of women advancing in any code, in any area of that code, has been made so separate from the actual code that it's not even given the same treatment. In some instances, it's so overcompensated so that it can tick a political box that it has less than zero in the form of sustainability. In other instances, it's ignored and treated no differently to its historical nature, and it's just a second-rate process. And as I say, I believe that us as men have a lot to answer for in terms of not really taking this on. Now, let me say one thing outright. Not all men are obstacles to women advancing in the code. There are many male champions out there that are making the most amazing differences. But we are a minority, and I think until that changes, nothing is going to change in terms of women advancing in the realms of sport. So, to give you a little story. Quite a while ago, 2-3 years ago, I had a female colleague, and I was commenting on a friend of ours who was going to be getting ready to play A-League football in Australia. That's soccer. And I was corrected in mid-sentence to say, hold, it's not A-League, it's W-League. And I was like, sorry, it's not W-League. And I categorically denied the inference that there was W-League or A-League, that the W-League and the differentiation between A-League and A and W was simple politics, simple social conditioning by a media rhetoric that was driven by governing bodies to try and separate a competition which drives more funding, more TV rights, more attendances, etc., etc. If you look at the AFL product here, which is Australian Football League, which is Aussie rules to most, the highest level that you can play footy here is in the Premiership. Now you have what's called the AFL, and then you have AFLW. So I'm saying to you, well, shouldn't we then have AFLM and AFLW? So you have AFL for men. And the truth is the marketers could get very busy with the W and the M because you reverse it out. It's the same letter, right? But can you see now why I'm saying differentiation is not the equation? Now, I'll sort of justify this a little bit further on. The way I believe that we can sustainably move forward is to address sport as one product, okay? One product for everybody that plays the code. All stakeholders involved, from top to bottom, left and right, up and down, everywhere. And if we're really serious about inclusion, then sport is for all. That means systems, policies, procedures are the same for everybody. The titles, the branding, the public presence, the brand collateral, all of those wonderful marketing terms, it's the same for everybody. Okay? The TV rights are the same in terms of what is spent. The salaries should be the same. If they're not the same, then are you showing? If you're telling me that sports, women in sport, should be paid less, then show me that you're spending the difference in investing in ensuring that the gap is closed as soon as possible. Equity versus equality. Again, an issue, and I'll come back to that one. We can't have one set of sporting structures for men and one set of sporting structures for women. We can't have a situation where, and this is happening all the time, we're building women's structures, but we're comparing their success or sustainability to men's structures. Women's structures need to be for women and men's structures need to be for men in the same code, as I said to you earlier. Can't set one funding stream for men and one funding stream for women. It just doesn't make sense. It drives a different value proposition in terms of what the product is valued at. And sport is one product. But yet we're differentiating. And it's not for no reason. We are differentiating solely to tick boxes, to show differentiation. And then we create all these elaborate stories around this differentiation. All the marketers and all the spin doctors are out there creating rhetoric, getting you all to believe that this is very necessary, and getting corporates to spend heaps of money into new products. That's going to change post-COVID-19 as well, by the way. It's disingenuous to women. It's insulting, and it again does not create any level of stability or sustainability for a sporting code. The one product approach appeals for absolutely no differentiation. It stands for no differentiation. So if you structure like for like, then let's coach, let's plan, let's select, and let's fund like for like. That's one approach. No differentiation. One approach. And when it comes to funding, I believe that the grassroots and the community level of female sport should be invested in a great more to redress the clear imbalance. So now I've just told you that we should be like for like, yet now I'm saying at grassroots you should be investing more. Why should we be investing more? Because there's a gap, there's an inequality at a higher level, and we have to address that inequality. So yes, in trying to bring everything to a like for like, at the highest level there must be like for like, but at the lower levels of grassroots sport where it's all happening, we have to invest more in women and girls than we do in boys and men, okay? And I believe that's a responsibility of ours to step up and to make sure that we get this done. So when I say like for like, I'm referring specifically to skill levels. I appreciate that this approach of mine presents complications at all stages, but at least mine is void of any social conditioning or rubbish rhetoric out of the media to try and create an unnecessary differentiation. Let's tell it like it is. Let's be honest about it, and let's make it happen. Let's say that we're at this level. We want to get to that level. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to fund it. If the males are a bit insulted or offended by it, well, get over it, because you've been doing this for a long time, and you need to basically just be part of the solution and become far less part of the problem. That is something that I think is very, very important. So I get that it creates challenges, but out of challenge will come a great deal of success if we're prepared to work at it. We need to develop proper skill sets. We need to develop skill sets of coaches, skill sets of players. The earlier we can get into teaching skills and techniques the earlier we can get into that space, the better. And so girls in all sporting codes need to be given a lot of focus. So in effect, we have a lot of work to do, in my opinion, around breaking down the barriers to entry for women. So I believe from the barriers perspective, I believe that one of the key barriers is women lacking the sufficient confidence to be part of something. So administration, coaching, playing. I believe that there is a general lack of confidence in the woman that is, number two, driven by a culture of males, subconsciously or consciously, hopefully not consciously, suppressing or making it uncomfortable for females through the way they speak, through the way they behave, through the numbers. If there's just males everywhere, why would a female want to be part of that? It's not that they wouldn't, but, and again, we have to be very careful of generalizing here, by the way. So let's try and be specific as much as we can. So when we run cultural enhancement programs, we need to address the confidence levels of women in terms of knowledge is power, as well as breaking down the male dominance, which is either, as I say, conscious or subconscious. So that's absolutely crucial. And whilst we're doing that, we can then also begin to address the idea of the political nature of women in sport, the media rhetoric that is driving a very slanted view of what women in sport is supposed to be about. And we can start to then reach sponsors so that we're getting one product, one approach for one sport. Not rocket science, just common sense. And I believe fundamentally that anyone that wishes to play sport recreationally or more seriously has to be given the chance. That is taking place. I have to say that it is taking place. And I'm saying, to what end is it taking place? And are we as genuine as the media rhetoric is saying? There must be, the best coaching must be made available to everybody who's involved and wants to be the same. The field layout should be the same. The access to quality facilities should absolutely be the same. And the pay gaps should no longer exist. That's the difference with equality and equity. There shouldn't be a pay gap for males and females. It should absolutely, and the biggest one, the coverage from the media has to become the same. So still media coverage for women in sport is lower than men in some instances. I don't have actually facts to back that up, so let me just state that clearly. I do believe, in my opinion, that still the media coverage for women in sports is a bit less outside of particular events. So I attended the Women's World Cup cricket final, the T20 World Cup cricket final. It was an amazing event, and there was a lot of media coverage around that. And Cricket Australia had done some great things around that. But that's an exception to the rule. I'm saying in general, I don't see women's coverage in the media to be as strong as men. So I think that's something we need to step up. And we've got to stop using W or woman or the inference of female differentiation in the naming of competitions. It just generally just drives an inappropriate perception, and it separates. And if we want to be one and we want to have equality, then what are we separating for? I don't understand it. It's a paradox in itself. One product, one approach, one sport. Simple. So I want to close off, just a big shout out to all that are making this happen, to all that are genuinely and sustainably creating pathways for women in sport at all levels. I've come across one or two very strong characters, both male and female, a lot of very strong females in this space. I'm not going to mention any names because when you mention some names, you leave some out. But it's a topic that I think needs a lot more discussion. Again, this is my opinion. You are welcome to comment on any of our social media channels. Share your thoughts, give us feedback, give us solutions, tell me where I'm wrong, tell me where I'm right. It's all good. And let's just keep working together at the edge of sport to make sure that we're making a sustainable pathway for all areas of sport across the world. So catch us next week, episode 3. I'll give you more details about that one coming up. Get us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. As I say, hit us up with any of your comments, share your thoughts, and stay tuned for more information on our next episodes.